friends. It's been a while. Life got kind of crazy for me for a little bit, and we had some changes with Legion of Dogs because Christina left. She just prioritized her projects, and she's still around. She's still my friend. She's still in the Legion of Dogs group if anyone ever wants to chat with her. But she just stepped away to work on other things, which happens sometimes when we're taking on all this stuff. We take on too much, and I'm guilty of that too. However, it's 2024, and I'm really excited about Legion of Dogs still. I am super excited about things I have planned for it, and it's going to continue to be this great resource for everyone. And I was really excited that we could make the Living Peacefully course for free, because I changed the platform it was hosted on. Before I was paying to host it, and now it's on Facebook as a Facebook group, so there's no cost to me every month to have it. So you guys can access that. If you're not in it, you should join it. It's a lot of work I put into that, and it's great to have something that can just benefit you and your dogs. So to update things a little bit, I am going to be continuing the podcast, working on season 2. I have a bit of a learning curve here because Christina did produce our podcast, as well as co-host it with me, and now I have to learn to do that, which is fine. I like new skills, and she offered to help me learn. So that should be coming within a couple of months. Give me some leeway there, because running a podcast is a lot more work than people think it is. And I'm excited to announce that I am going to have a new co-host, and she's someone that you guys have listened to podcast episodes with. So Amanda is going to be joining me with Legion of Dogs. She's going to be my full partner. So she'll be available on the Facebook group, in the lessons. She'll be available for private lessons if you want to book them with her. Yeah, so she'll be around. She'll be doing the podcast with me, and she'll be posting content. So we're excited. Amanda and I've worked together for coming up on 9.5 years now, 9 years, with dog training. So we're a great team. We're a well-oiled machine. So I'm excited about her joining the project. She had a bulldog and a Connie Corso that were living crate and rotate, that had taken her years to integrate. And then sadly, both dogs ended up passing away as time went on, and she has Draken, her current bulldog, who's just like the sweetest guy. And she's recently added a new puppy, so they've got a German Shepherd puppy. So that's going to be an adventure because she's working on integrating those dogs together. And then on my end, things kind of didn't go as planned this year, which happens with dogs. So we had plans to breed Story in the fall, and we were supposed to have puppies right before Christmas. Unfortunately, for the second year in a row, she did not get pregnant. And I know you fellow breeders out there will understand how stressful and expensive and sad this is, because we have people waiting for puppies. We might be waiting for puppies. In this case, my stud owner was waiting for a puppy, and she's sad that she's not getting her puppy now. So that was, it was a blow. We were sad. Story is now going to retire from breeding, so I'm not going to have another litter with her. And I'm not sure entirely where my plans are going to lay. I'm going to be doing Fable's health testing, her daughter's, and potentially breeding her sooner than I had planned, because I'm still weighing the pros and cons of breeding at a later age versus a younger age, and there are pros and cons to both. Fable, she's a proven dog at this point. She's done a lot in sports, but she's really high drive, really high arousal, and I kind of wanted to see what maturity would bring for her. She's 2.5. So this year will give me some time to reflect and see where she's at, make sure her health testing checks out, and probably put a few more titles on her in the meantime, because we're always busy. So that's kind of where my breeding plans are lying right now. We are welcoming a 5th dog into our home. We are getting another dachshund, a miniature long-haired dachshund from the same breeder as Frankie Pickles. So I'm super excited to be adding another little one. I hope one day to breed miniature dachshunds as well as the Australian Shepherds. I don't breed often. I don't breed in volume. So dabbling in 2 breeds is kind of fun. There's a lot of home potentials for where I live for miniature dachshunds, which is nice. Hoping to have puppies stay nice and local so I can see them and be hands-on with them. So yeah, those are my plans. That's where my dog household is at. So we're 4 dogs right now. We're adding a 5th. And you guys will get to hear all about that because it'll be fun. So as far as what I'm doing right now is we're gonna try and put out a YouTube episode pretty regularly. I'm hoping for every week, but realistically it might be, you know, every 2 weeks or so, where I'd like to cover a topic that you guys come up with in the Facebook group, and we can talk about it. I might do some Facebook Lives too, but those are hit and miss on whether people can attend at the same time. So we're gonna have episodes where we deal with like Q&As and that kind of thing too. So there'll be lots of opportunities to learn and deal with the different dynamics of multi-dog living, because I know what's true for me isn't necessarily true for the next person or the next person, because we all have really dynamic households. Our dogs' individual personalities impact how well they get along significantly, and also how they cope with stress and things like that. So I am going to answer one of the Facebook group questions. Actually, there was a few from the same person, which is really awesome. And I wanted to chat about those. And so Nola asked, her first question was, people talk about breeds having same-sex aggression. Is this actually a thing? So honestly, my personal experience, I have not seen same-sex aggression be a breed trait, even though they talk about this in breed standards. So I can give you guys an example. One of the first breeds I was involved with was Irish Terriers, and everything I read about them said they were really predisposed to same-sex aggression, and my experience with the dogs was that wasn't true. They're actually highly social dogs. They tend to have terrier play skills and socialization and things like that, but there wasn't aggression directed at a dog because it was male or because it was female. I've had cases where I'm working with bulldogs who live in the same home specifically, where they would have aggression towards the other dogs in the home, but it didn't seem to be gender related. It could be female on male, male on male, female on female. Like the breed, just some of the personalities in the breed were kind of clashy. And I've also worked with bulldogs who got along awesome and were best friends. That seemed easier in that breed with females, but I've seen male and male bulldogs get along awesome too. So anecdotally, I have never seen same-sex aggression be a breed specific thing. I've heard a lot of people say having multiple female dogs is extremely challenging. It's not my experience. I have a full house of female dogs that really like each other. In fact, I have one female dog that doesn't love male dogs overall. Like if I just had to say, hey, male dog's not her thing, she'll occasionally find one she loves though. And I have friends who have lots of dogs, like Megan Crane, who we interviewed on the podcast, who has a lot of female dogs. She has a bunch of different breeds, so mostly Border Terriers, but she currently has a Frenchie. She's had Border Collie, Aussie, and her dogs did not have same-sex aggression either, which apparently Border Collies are really well known for having, is female and female aggression as well. But I haven't personally seen this in all my time as a dog trainer. So unless I found some scientific research that backed that up, I would say I don't think it has to do with breed or gender. I think it has more to do with dogs' personalities and lived experiences, and possibly medical conditions or stress. I think those factors are a lot bigger of a deal than gender or breed. However, if you guys know of this, or you're an expert in your breed and you want to contribute to this conversation about this, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I'm just one person. So then the next question Nola was asking was, resource guarding people against other dogs, how do you approach this? So this is probably the most common concern in a multi-dog household, is one or more dogs will guard one or more humans from the other dogs, and it has varying degrees of severity. I would say it exists to some extent in probably most homes. It's just typically, if people describe their dogs as getting along well, minor, and the dogs have really good social cues and relationships to navigate the stressors of that. Or they have a really high tolerance for other dogs, even though they would like to guard the human. We do see incidents of severe aggression relating to human resource guarding, and it's a challenge. So my number one go-to with resource guarding of the human, if the dogs are not fighting to the extent where they're going to need vet care or have a severe injury of any kind, that would change my protocol, and we'll talk about that too. So say we're having minor dust-ups, they're mostly vocal fights, maybe some scrapes, the odd tooth scratch, something. Dogs are similar size, so no risk of death or severe injury. The go-to approach for me would be to get up and walk away. So if a dog started guarding you, there would be a consequence of you leaving immediately. That tends to teach dogs that the guarding behavior does make you go away. It also tends to de-escalate the dogs because you are no longer present as the guarding resource. And I find you don't have to go away for very long, like a couple seconds, come right back, settle everyone down. That can be a good strategy. Again, when we're dealing with resource guarding or aggression, there's no one size fits all picture. This is where I would recommend people do book private training to review their individual case, which Nola did do. We chatted. So I had a good idea of what was going on with her dogs when I was giving advice. So I want to have that caveat in there. It's not a one size fits all. And I don't want anyone going, well, they said to do this, so I'm going to do exactly this because your situation might be different. But that's my go-to, especially if I see it just starting up and it's minor. Teaching dogs alternative behaviors can be great too, depending on your dog's ability and your ability. Teaching a go-to place when they start to guard so that they learn to remove themselves from the situation can be super beneficial. It is something I did with my own dog. Navy, when she was getting stressed, she knew to go to her kennel if I cued it. So I'd see like some tension in her body, a hard eye start. I could say, go to bed. She would leave and she would go to bed, and we wouldn't have a dog-to-dog conflict. Her conflict was with a dog that was mostly blind and super old, so he didn't always anticipate what was going on. So getting her to move away would de-escalate the entire situation because he was actually unaware. And because he was unaware of her body language, it could escalate because he wasn't reading her. So that was my job. Now, that doesn't work for everyone for a variety of reasons. Sometimes our dogs are just not good at that skill. And sometimes we're not good at picking up on that behavior that's happening. Not everyone is a complete expert on their dog's body language. And sometimes we're just busy living our life and we make mistakes and we miss it. So it can be a good solution if those factors work for you. Leave it can work as well. Again, it'd be the same thing. I find go to place slightly more effective than a leave it cue for this stuff. Now, if we're dealing with severe guarding or a high risk of injury from the dogs in this scenario, then I do recommend having the dogs separate, and you would work them only under pretty direct supervision with a lot of safety protocols going on. So you could potentially be working on resource guarding with X-pen setup. So you're in the X-pen with one dog and then you're reinforcing the other dog from a distance, either with a human or a remote treat finder or by throwing rewards to them. But the dogs aren't actually able to get to each other. You might be using muzzles, you might be using tethers, you might be using all of these things. Because again, if we're dealing with like a serious fight where you could get hurt, the dogs could get hurt, we need to move really slowly. There is a fantastic book on resource guarding called Mine by Jean Donaldson. It's like still my go-to for protocols. It is worth buying. I highly, highly recommend that book, and I don't recommend that many dog training books. If I'm being honest, I've read a lot of them, but That one is a really great one for anyone at any skill level. She outlines the protocol on what to do in different situations. So this could be dog-to-dog guarding of humans, dog-to-dog guarding of food, dog resource guarding things from people. It is just like this fantastic resource. So if you're experiencing resource guarding of any level, buy that book. Because I'm not going to just, you know, answer her protocols because those are hers. But give the book a read and share it with friends if you need to. It's a great read. It has a lot of information. So then Nola's last question, because I want to hit all of her questions for this one. She asked, what if one of your household dogs is reacting badly or really bad at reading body language or social cues? Is there a way to help them out? So this could apply to, again, like a situation where I was talking about, like we had an old dog that was blind, so he was really bad at reading social cues because he literally couldn't see them, and he was kind of oblivious in general. He didn't respond to growling, like he's his own little guy, right? And I've seen this a lot with senior dogs. It can also be puppies who are young, and they want to play and they want to do what they want to do, so they ignore dog social cues. And sometimes it can be dogs that haven't really had a lot of exposure to other dogs. So they want what they want and they don't stop no matter what the other dog tells them. And some of them also like to fight. So an example of this would be, I have a dog, Navy, who is a little sensitive. She likes dogs, but she's not like everyone's best friend. And if a dog is really at her and doesn't want to stop, like they want to play and they're not going to take no for an answer, she will try and move away. She will lip lift. She will give full teeth. She'll be growling, and some dogs won't stop in that scenario. And she has tried her best to be like, leave me alone. And if they keep going, she will at that point escalate too. And then she'll have a altercation where there is no injuries. It's a lot of noise. But sometimes it's reinforcing to the other dog that's looking for attention from the dog. They're having fun having the fight. Again, it's a non-serious fight. There's no injuries involved. And I see that a lot. I often see that in dogs who go to daycares, especially if they're not managed closely in daycare and they're young and exuberant. They just haven't developed play skills where there's respect. So in that scenario, a lot of human intervention would be required. So if the dogs, say, enjoyed play together, we would limit it, or we would have their interactions together super monitored. So if they're living in the same household, you're probably looking at a crate and rotate. You're probably going to be doing X-Pens. And then you're going to give the dogs playtime where you're monitoring, and then you're calling them out of play regularly and doing things to lower arousal. So in that kind of case, I'd let the dog play for a small amount of time. The amount of time is going to vary depending on the dogs you're dealing with, but you don't want to let it go on too long. Shorter is better than longer. So if you're not sure, short, like even under a minute's cool. You call the dogs back, you work on some, like you could do settle, you could do basic sits, you can feed treats, you can do hand targeting, like whatever it is. So the dogs are no longer focused on one another and they get a chance to decompress. And for some dogs, that would be all they can do in a day. Like they would do that one little short play, they decompress, and then the play would be over and then we're done. For other dogs, we could do this repetitively throughout the day. We could do a couple sessions at once where we take breaks. The other thing that works really well is parallel walking. So if the dogs aren't good at reading each other and one or both get over aroused together, doing a parallel walk where the play isn't the focus of the interaction between the two dogs can be really great for bonding time. Or if you have access to a third party dog, so a dog that wants to play with the exuberant one, which allows the other dog to decompress, that can be a good option too. So you kind of have to play with dynamics and the dogs you have access to, whether they be friend, family dogs, or just more dogs in your household. And if you're doing parallel walking and one dog is targeting the other dog, keeping the targeting dog on a long line or a leash and reinforcing them for focus on you or focus on other things can be good. Remember, praise is a good reward too. So if you're walking a dog and they're doing sniffing and they're not pestering the other dog, that can be great. I have another client here. She has a sensitive boy, and she got a young, much larger puppy, and we've had to do a lot of like, we're together but we're not interacting so that the older dog's comfort level with the young dog could increase, so he feels a little more comfortable, because the young dog will just tackle because that's his play style and body language, and the older dog doesn't enjoy that. So having the dogs separate, doing things where the focus is on the other dog, can be a really great solution too. It's very individual at times. So if you have certain types of dogs, you want to talk about their personalities or their dynamics, that's welcome in the Facebook group. We want to chat about our dogs. I want to hear about your dogs. You guys can share stories with each other too. It's meant to be interactive and inclusive of people with all different dogs and dog dynamics, whether you're doing crate and rotates, whether you're doing just supervised times together, or your dogs are just fully integrated and you just have the odd thing pop up, or maybe you have no things pop up and your dogs get along great and you just want to keep it that way. We can chat about all those things, because living with lots of dogs can be hard and it can be fulfilling. It depends on the dynamic of the day. So hopefully, Nola, I've answered your questions. I'd love an update on how your dogs are doing. They were adorable when I saw them. And if anyone else wants to share stories or experiences with any of these things, we'd love to hear them. Have a good day.